a lot of artists do when they draw portraits, they start from the outside of the face and put everything, all the features inside of that. Now I'm not able to do that because I don't have that eye to hand coordination that they have. And likewise, when an artist will draw an eye, they will start from the outside and draw the outside of the eye first and then draw what's on the inside. We're going to do it the opposite way, and we're going to draw from the iris outwards. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a perspective line on the page. Now we know what perspective lines are, so just lightly with a 2B, I'm just going to put a perspective line on. Now I'm not going to do a small eye, I'm going to do quite a large eye so that you can see all the elements that go with it. If you can't draw a circle well, then what I suggest you do is you get one of these things, or you get something that you can draw a circle with. It could be a coin, or it could be anything that's round. Now most eyes, the iris is not right on that perspective line. So I'm going to draw my circle a little bit above it and lightly draw in the circle. So we have the start of our iris. Now the pupil, which is in the middle of that, you will have to draw by hand because you can never with a circle get it right in the middle. So I'm going to start to where I think the middle of that is and start drawing with my 6B, which I've lost now. Because I want it quite dark, so it's there. And I'm going to start drawing a circle, or as close to a circle as I can. Now pupils are always different sizes depending on the light that is actually entering the eye. So I'm going to have mine around about that size. Try and get it round. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have the light source coming from the usual direction that we normally have, and I'm going to very lightly put in a highlight, and I'm just going to put it in there just quietly. With a blue eye, usually all we need to do is stub it because it has very little colour in it. But if you're doing a brown eye, then you'll need to put colour in. The first thing I'm going to do is just put some colour down first and then work on the lines that you can see in the eye. So avoiding that highlight. Now that doesn't look like it's in the centre to me, so I'm just going to make it look a little bit bigger. It's a bit better. Alright, again using the 2B, and if you've got part of it is fairly flat, I'm just going to put some lines, just different size lines coming from the outside. Radiating towards the middle. And then I'm going to soften them very lightly with my stub. So that we still have the marks there. Alright, so we've got the basics of an iris. Now the size of the iris determines the size of the white of the eye. So the white of the eye is always twice the size of the iris. So I'll just put my 6B down a minute. So I'm going to measure that, and that's 2.1. So going from the centre of the pupil outwards, I'm going to measure 2.1 both ways. Alright, now if the portrait you're doing, the person is either looking to the right or to the left, the size of the white of the eye is still going to be twice the size of the iris. So if they're looking off to what would be their left and our right, if that is only going to be to there, then the size of the iris, you're going to have more white over this side, or vice versa. But for this scenario, we're just going to do it so that it's looking straight on. Alright, so we've got the measurement of the white of the eye. Now, where that line is where the outside of the eye will be. Now, I'm going to draw this as a left eye. So the right eye would be over here. So it's always reverse. And I'm going to start off and I'm going to cut the iris about there, and I'm going to, just using my pencil, I'm just going to draw very lightly where that line's going to go. So you can have a practice run before you actually do it, like I just did then. And the same with this way. So I'm going to leave it to here, and I'll explain that to you. Because that is going to be the outside of the white of the eye, and we need to have room to put in a tear duct. Alright, so where that's crossed off, I'm actually going to white that out. So I might just move that, it's a bit angled. The bottom of the eye I'm going to have so that the iris, you can see a little of the white of the eye below it. In some cases it could be cut again, depending on the person's individual eye, but I'm going to have it a little bit underneath. And again, I'm going to have a few practice runs. And then I'm just going to do the same this side. And then that I'm going to chop off and put in a tear duct. From there, I'm going to start polishing and putting skin layers down of the outside of the eye. So just using my stub, I'm going to polish the paper. And the same with underneath. Using my finger to finish polishing it. Alright, now if you have a look at that, it does look a little bit starey-eyed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put colour into the white of the eye. First thing I'll do though is get rid of this line that we've got. It's just a guideline for when we first start. And then I'm just going to put some colour in. Doesn't have to be much. I might put some more skin tones down with my finger. Alright. Now that's a tear duct. So the tear duct will have highlights in it as well. So we're going to put a couple of little highlights in there because it will glisten with the moisture that's in there, and then I'm going to colour it in with my 2B and then stub it so that it's smooth. So we've got that. I'm just going to get rid of that line that's there. Alright, with eyes there are always crease lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a crease line. Now they could be absolutely anywhere. It's an individual trait that everybody has. It could be very small or it could be quite high up or big. So I'm just going to do a small one, just imaginary. And I'm going to soften it with my stub. Soften it up a bit. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to do what I call the eyebrow line. So the size of the iris, which was 2.1, so I'll just remind myself where 2.1 finished this way, which was there. The eyebrow line is 2.1 up again. So put that in, and I'll just draw a line that's going to be parallel with that perspective line. Very lightly. Now the eyebrow line is basically where the bone is. So we're going to have shading and light and dark in here, and we're going to have an eyebrow that may not necessarily be on top of that eyebrow line. So the first thing we're going to do is get some shading in. So we're going to highlight around here. So just using my rubber, and soften it back. And then using the stub where it would be dark. Softening it back. It's something that you can actually work on. But it has to be done before you do any hair effects. Alright, so now I'm going to do an eyebrow. Now the eyebrows usually are round about the same size as an eye. So if I lead up from here, I'm going to start my eyebrow here, and I'm just going to do little ticks. And then the direction of the eye, as it gets to the top, I'm going to lead it down a little bit and bring it down here. So draw each individual eye. Coming around. I'll put a bit more shape in here. And then just coming down. To about where that eye is. Well, it could come down a bit further, make it look a bit. Just your own personal preference. Now this, because this is the left eye, it's going, and the highlight's coming over here, it's going to be quite dark in here. So using my stub, I'm going to get more dark in here. By now you should have enough graphite on your stub to be able to do this. Because that's going to be where the bridge of the nose is going to be. And then here I'm actually going to do a little bit of a highlight. We're also going to have a little line underneath here. Again, an individual thing, so I'm just going to do a very light one. And soften it with my pencil. Just smooth it all off. Alright, eyelashes. At the top of the eye, they're going to be straight, and at the edges, or this edge, you're going to see the curves. So as it goes around, you'll see it, and then it'll just start being straight and not quite so big there. So I usually do 2 or 3 layers of these eyelashes, and on the top lid, it actually starts right on the skin line. So I'm going to start just flicking. Whoops, doesn't matter, because we're going to do several lines, and then coming and not so big from there. Then I'm going to do another layer. And if they're really thick eyelashes, you can do a third. The bottom lashes don't start on the skin line, they actually start a little bit down, and they're not as long as the top one. They're usually more sparse. So I don't usually do as many layers. So we've got the rough idea of an eye. I'll just rub that out. I don't know where that's come from. Right. It's not leaving me, so it's alright. Polishing the paper a bit more. Might actually get a bit more dark over here. And there you have an eye.